Thank you again for joining this morning's session. A couple housekeeping items. We are recording today's meeting, and then I would ask if everyone can just make sure that you are on mute. You're welcome to be on camera if you'd like. And just again, appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. I'm really excited to be able to offer this information session. Becoming licensed by OSSE is increasing the number of providers that we have who are OSSE licensed is a big priority for us as part of our strategic plan efforts to make sure all families have equitable access to after school programming. So I'm very excited to see so many providers on the call today and look forward to a really great session. I will turn it over to my colleagues at OSSE. Eva, feel free to take it away.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Eva Lightyear, Director of Licensing, Compliance, and Subsidy at OSSE, and I'll let the rest of the team take it away. They'll be presenting today. So, Allison.
Eva, I'll go first. Clement. Good morning, everybody. My name is Clement Iden. I am the Program Manager for Childcare Licensing at OSSE, and the rest of my colleagues will introduce themselves.
And I'm Allison Waddy. I'm the Program Manager for the Childcare Subsidy Program at OSSE.
Kiana.
Good morning, my name is Kiana Nelson, and I am a Management Analyst with Licensing at OSSE.
And Stormy, do we have Stormy with us?
Yes, good morning. My name is Stormy Stringer, and I'm Supervisory Education Service Monitor here at OSSE.
Okay, you guys can get started.
Okay, good morning. I just want to make sure that you all are able to see the screen on your end.
Yep, looks great.
Okay. So again, my name is Kiana Nelson, and I'll be starting off presenting the licensing presentation for the out of school time programs. Our agenda today for licensing will be the role of the Office of the State Superintendent of Education. We're going to discuss the out of school time definition, review some licensing regulations and licensing exemptions, supervision of adult to child ratios, steps for completing the licensing process, submitting the initial application, the licensing process. We're going to discuss the initial inspection and share some resources and supports. For subsidy, we'll have an overview of the DC Childcare Subsidy Program. We're going to discuss the provider agreement requirements, the subsidy reimbursement rates, the subsidy provider application process. We're going to share resources, and then we also will provide the licensing and subsidy contact information. So we're going to start with the licensing side first. So for the role of OSSE, OSSE is a regulatory authority for childcare licensing in the district and is responsible for licensing and monitoring child development facilities to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of children in licensed child development facilities. So our facilities include centers, OST facilities, which are our out of school time facilities, homes, and expanded homes. Licensing regulations. District of Columbia's Child Development Facility regulations are listed in the District of Columbia Municipal Regulations, DCMR Title 5A, Chapter 1. It's really important that you download the regulations and make sure that you review them in order to be successful in navigating the licensing process. You want to pay close attention to Chapter 172, which has additional requirements for out of school time programs. Out-of-school time care is care and other services, supervision, and guidance provided to one or more children of legal school age and under the age of 15 years who enroll in public, private, or charter schools before and after normal school hours at a child development facility. Here are some licensing exemptions that pertain to out-of-school time programs. A District of Columbia public school or public charter school providing education services to children in grades pre-K 3 through grade 12 during a full school day. A private school providing education services to children engaged pre-K through grade 12 during a full school day. A community-based organization providing only pre-K education services to pre-K age children pursuant to the Pre-K Act funded by OSSE. Facilities that provide only before school care, only after school care, or only summer camp to school age children, and facilities otherwise exempt by law. There are some supervision requirements when it comes to being licensing. Adult to child ratios and group size are established, and they're there to ensure the health and safety of children. All licensed facilities shall maintain adult to child ratios at all times. Except as otherwise provided in this section, volunteers should not be used and are counted in adult to child ratio requirements. Only the employees that are responsible for providing direct supervision or guidance to children shall be counted in staff-child ratios. So supervision for staff-child ratio for out-of-school time programs, you can have a director and a group leader. You can have a group leader and an assistant group leader, and you can have a group leader with another group leader. There must be 2 staff at all times when supervising children. The adult-child ratio is 1 to 12 for children under 6 years of age. Maximum group size is 24. When you have children 6 years and older, the adult to child ratio is 1 to 15. The maximum group size is 30. But again, no matter how many children, you must have 2 staff at all time. And that can be a director and a group leader and assistant group leader, or 2 group leaders together. So now we'll discuss submitting the initial application, and we'll go through the checklist here. And I'll go more in details in a later slide of the documentation that you're going to submit. So you want to first complete the orientation webinar and quiz. You're going to submit the clean hands, their certificate of occupancy. You're going to submit a fire report, the fire safety inspection certificate, a notarized building use agreement, proof of insurance, liability insurance, and sexual abuse and molestation coverage must be submitted. You're going to submit a lead child development facility entity information form, the tax RS letter, and a safe evacuation site form. So the steps for completing the licensing process consists of, again, first completing the orientation. When you complete the orientation, there is going to be a quiz that's embedded. So you want to take that quiz as well, and you must score at 80% or higher on the quiz. You're going to obtain a certificate of occupancy permit. That is something that you can get from DC Department of Business, or if you can have a contract with DCPS and then also have a facility use agreement. You're going to have a fire safety inspection from FEMS, and you would get that from DCPS as well. It's their latest fire inspection that must be within the year. The clean hands certificate is something that you would apply and obtain within 30 days of submitting your application. You're going to complete and submit the licensing application. There is a $75 application fee.
This form, even if something's been paid on the credit.
I'm sorry. Again, I forgot to do a couple of housekeeping, but we ask that if you have questions, please to just put them in the chat. We're going to provide space at the end of the presentation to answer all questions that have been uploaded to the chat and open for any additional questions as well. Once you turn in your completed application, you're going to be assigned a licensing specialist. That specialist will meet with you and discuss the initial inspection. You'll have your initial inspection. There may be a follow-up inspection that is needed. Then you'll have a validation visit, and then next comes the issuance of the license. Okay, now we're going to get a little more into the documentation that's needed. So again, you would complete the orientation. The orientation right now is being offered online. It is a PowerPoint. You will attend, you will complete the quiz. Please be mindful that you would need to print out the score of the quiz. You would apply for your clean hands. Again, your clean hands would need to be within 30 days of you submitting your initial application. Your certificate of occupancy. Again, if you are in a DCPS school and they already have a certificate of occupancy, you can submit their certificate of occupancy along with your DCPS contract and your facility use agreement. You would need to get a copy of their latest fire inspection. Their fire certificate should be approved within the last year. There's a notarized building use of agreement that you would need to submit. Now you can decline to submit that document and create a letter that says that you will close in the event that, let's say, something happened to the building that you're operating in and you're not able to operate, then the letter could state that in the event that you're unable to operate in your current facility, you will close and remain closed until you're able to operate again. You would submit proof of insurance. The insurance needs to have coverage for sexual abuse and molestation, general liability, and umbrella coverage. You would also are responsible for having a lead certification clearance report within 30 days. For all out-of-school time facilities, you are able to request a waiver for this requirement. So you would go online and complete the general waiver form and submit that to OSSE. There's a child development facility legal entity information, and that form you would fill out just completing the information of the entity owner. You would submit your tax IRS letter, and then there's a safe evacuation site form that would also accompany the application package. Okay, once you submit your application, you'll have initial inspection. At this time, within 10 days of you submitting your application, you'll be contacted with a assigned licensing specialist. That specialist will discuss and have a consultation with you. They'll go over what is inspected of the initial application to make sure that you're ready, that you have all the health and safety requirements met. There's no physical deficiencies of the environment, like making sure there's no holes in the wall, that your facility has the appropriate trash cans and different things like that. They'll come out there, they'll do an inspection. If they come out and there are some deficiencies, then you will be cited and provided 30 days to correct those deficiencies. We will, if you're not able to correct those deficiencies within 30 days, it could be extended up until 90 days, but it will not be extended past 180 days. This is the licensing process flow chart. So again, you have the orientation, you submit your application, your inspection is scheduled, changes are made, which is you abating any deficiencies. If there's no deficiencies, then during the inspection, then there will be no follow-up visit. If there are deficiencies that are cited, then you will have a follow-up visit to make sure those deficiencies were abated. You'll have a validation visit, and then the license will be granted. So here are some licensing resources. We have all of our licensing forms are available online for you. That includes the center application that you would submit and then all the documentation that you would need. We have also provided you a link for the child care license regulations and policies. And then if you have questions regarding professional development or qualifications for staff, we provided you the Early Childhood Education Help Desk, which you're able to send in transcripts to see whether or not potential staff qualify for a position. The license team to contact if you have any questions. Again, myself, Kiana Nelson, License and Management Analyst. Mr. Clement Iden is the License Program Manager. Eva Laguerre is the Director of Licensing, Compliance, and Subsidy. So now I will turn things over to Ms. Stormy Stringer, who's going to discuss the information for subsidy.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kiana. If you could move to the next slide. Okay, so the overview of the DC Child Care Subsidy Program. The DC Child Care Subsidy Program is administered by OSSE and provides financial assistance to help families with eligible children afford child care. Families identify their need for child care, and then the families submit subsidy applications and supporting documentation either online or in person. Eligibility for child care services and subsidy are determined, and then the family selects child care facilities that meet their needs. To participate in the DC Child Care Subsidy Program and serve families receiving child care subsidies, a child development facility must be licensed and complete the subsidy agreement process designated by OSSE. All licensed providers are eligible to become a Level 1 subsidized child care provider. Additionally, Level 1 child care providers can express an interest in becoming a Level 2 provider after 1 year in the program. A Level 2 provider has the ability to conduct initial eligibility determinations and redeterminations for the families in their care. Level 1 subsidized child care providers must comply with the requirements established in the Child Care Subsidy Provider Agreement and participate in annual monitoring in order to renew their agreement and continue to be a subsidized child care provider. Some of the agreement requirements include submitting timely monthly attendance records, comply with the District of Columbia's Living Wage Act, participate in required trainings, as well as maintain a copy of all attendance reports for a period of no less than 5 years, and cooperate with in-person or virtual monitoring visits and/or audits to verify record keeping, attendance placement, and services provided to the eligible children. Provider agreement renewal requirements establish that each year a subsidized child care provider must renew the agreement to continue accepting subsidies. Renewal requirements include updated affirmations and required documentation, like certificates of clean hands or staffing patterns, and they include submitting annual financial audits and records that demonstrate use of funds received to support the cost of providing subsidized child care services. Please note that if you receive less than $750,000 in combined federal funds, you are required to submit a financial statement. But if you receive more than $750,000 in combined federal funds, you would be required to submit an A-133 independent audit. The rates for subsidy program reimbursement for out-of-school time services are defined as preschool before and after, school age before and after, or school age before or after. Preschool is defined as a child between the ages of 3 to 5 by September 30th of that school year, And school age is defined as 5+. To become a level 1 subsidized child care subsidy provider, a provider must complete the application process below. View the orientation video, which we have provided in English and Spanish. Complete that orientation quiz, which is also in English and Spanish, and score 80% or higher to pass. Submit proof of passing quiz. Save or print that first page of the quiz included in your financial score, and email that first page of the quiz with a passing score to osce.subsidy@dc.gov. Submit application materials. After the quiz is submitted, OSSE will provide the application and instructions for completing it, including a list of required documents completed, and submit the application via the secure web portal provided to you. You then have the ability, once all that documentation is deemed complete and meets the agency requirements, you would sign the agreement, and you will sit through a session with your assigned education service monitor to provide overview of that agreement prior to signing. Here are a list of some of the documentations that are the documents that are required when submitting your application. The items that have asterisks are required for licensing and subsidy, and these forms are time sensitive. So a subsidized application timeline goes as you express an interest with the orientation video and you contact OSSE to initiate the application. You then complete the application by submitting the documentation in the secure portal, and OSSE reviews that information for completeness and accuracy. You then sign an agreement and you receive a welcome email. You register for trainings, and services are then deemed eligible via the system, so parents can sign up for services. So here are some links to helpful links. We have the DC Child Care Subsidy Program link, a sample provider agreement link, the DC Child Care Subsidy Program Manual, and the subsidy reimbursement rates. My name is Stormy Stringer. I'm a Supervisory Education Service Monitor, and you can reach me here if you have any questions about executing the subsidy agreement. Ms. Allison Waddy is the subsidy program manager, and Ms. Eva Laguerre is the Director of Licensing, Compliance, and Subsidy. And we have questions in the chat.
Thank you so much to the OSSE team for that really informative and helpful presentation. I feel like I learned a lot, even having been involved in several of these processes, so appreciate it. It does look like we have a couple questions in the chat. One thing I wanted to clarify with Kiana is in one of your slides, I think about the facilities use agreement, it indicated if you have a contract with DCPS, and I just want to confirm that you're referring to the partnership agreement, that memorandum of agreement, as well as the building use agreement with DGS. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. Our next question was, as long as we have a current DCPS agreement in place with our organization, we no longer need a certificate of occupancy for the school. Is that correct?
I can answer that. Yes, you no longer need a CFO for the school, but you need the facility use agreement executed by DGS and the school.
Great. So we refer to that sometimes as the building use agreement. So the typical building use agreement that you're going through where the principal signs the initial form and then you work with DGS to get your fully executed building use agreement is what Clement was referring to. We had a question about the subsidy reimbursement rate. Which rate does a summer camp program fall under? Stormy, I think that was maybe referring to the slide in your portion of the presentation with the table with the differing reimbursement rates.
Yes, it's Allison Waddy.
Oh.
I'm going to answer that. I'm sorry, I was having a hard time coming off mute.
No worries.
But the rate that is highlighted on that slide was particularly for the before and after care. If they're providing care in the summer, it would be the full-time rate in the same column to the left. So the rate is higher for full-time care.
Thank you so much. I saw a question about slides and recording being shared. Yes, absolutely. We will share them. We will email them out likely in our upcoming February newsletter, and then they'll also be posted to the partnerships website. We can drop that link in the chat. Any other process questions for the OSSE team today? One thing I did want to underscore is that some of these steps are different if you're working in a DCPS school building. So if you are a provider who is in a DCPS school, but maybe also a private school or an independent space, I just want to flag that, you know, getting licensed at a DCPS and a non-DCPS site might look a little different. So just make sure you're taking in today's information in the context of being in a DCPS or building. Our team is also here to support. We are leaning into this much more intentionally to help with the, particularly around the FEMS fire inspection, and then supporting after the OSSE inspection if there are other facilities, things that need to be taken care of. So our team is here to support. If you are beginning the process at a DCPS school, please let us know as soon as you begin that process so we can be involved and help make sure everyone's clear on their roles and understanding the steps. Because I know, you know, it's a lot to be managing that, and we want to make sure our schools and our partners have the support that they need. I saw a question in the chat about the rate for using a gymnasium. I think that's a question about facilities use, and all that information is available on the DCPS website. So I can share that in the chat. Question about the reimbursement rates in the table. Are those daily rates?
They are, yes.
Okay, great. Any final questions for the OSSE team? All right, well, thank you all so much. I'm really thrilled to see so many folks on the line here today. Oh, one last question regarding vouchers. Does that open up families from different schools to join? I don't think there is well, I'll let the OSSE team speak to that as to whether or not there's a requirement that the program only serve families that attend the school during the day.
We don't. So any family that is eligible for the child care subsidy can select a facility for that meets their family needs. So as long as your program allows for that, once they are in the program, they would just select your facility as the place where they'd like to have their child receive care.
I would say that's something you would want to talk to your host site principal about whether or not they're, you know, want programming opened up to students outside of the school community. So as long as everyone's in agreement on that end, that was a great question.
And if I may add, Abigail, for licensing, we license the space. So we actually licensing the school. So it may be an issue for somebody who is attending another school to come into the school facility. But these are things that the program, like you mentioned, should work with the principal because there are some documents that we require from the school to support the licensure of the facility. So as long as they are aware that we are licensing the school and not the program.
On the subsidies, what is the reimbursement timeline?
So providers are reimbursed for the month before. So if you provide services from January 1st through January 31st, on the first business day of February, you would report attendance and enrollment for the previous month, and then it will get paid out within about 20 business days.
Any last burning questions? All right, well, once again, many thanks to the team from OSSE for joining us today. This is the first time we'd offered an information session like this. And so again, I'm really thrilled that we have so many folks joining. As I said at the start of today's meeting, this is a real strategic priority for our team. So look forward to working with everyone to add some more licensed providers to our pool of after-school programming. And you have everyone's contact information now, so please reach out if you have any questions. And I hope everyone has a great day. We did see one final question in the chat, so OSSE team, if you wouldn't mind responding to that. Otherwise, we will close out. Thank you.
What was the final question again?
Sure. Is there an age cap on the students who are served?
It's 13 and under, I'm sorry, it's under 13 at the time of eligibility unless the child has special needs, in which case it's 19.
Great, thank you. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.